Alright, today I'm going to show you how to remove and replace your radiator on a 2005 to 2010 Hyundai Sonata. This is a 2007. The procedure will be the same for a Santa Fe and an Entourage. So first, you're going to start with removing some of the plastics, and I'd recommend having a catch pan for the coolant that we're going to have to drain out. I'll put all the tools I use in the description. I'll also name them as I go. So the first thing to do, there's two plastic pieces under the engine. They're just 10 millimeters. I don't need to bother showing you that. Just pull off the piece of plastic on the bottom. There's this one here. I've already pulled it off, but you will need to remove the screw there. It's a Phillips head screwdriver, but pull that off. These both were 10s, that one and that one. Next thing, if you have them, they're probably just clips. You're going to slide a screwdriver under. I've already pulled these out of mine, so it just pulls out. And then you're going to just pull this off. So that just pulls straight off. There's no clamp down there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to disconnect and drain the radiator. So underneath, there's going to be this little plastic thing right there. You're going to twist that and pull it out. You can see my radiator is cracked somewhere and it's leaking coolant, but I'm going to twist this and pull it out. So this is why you have the drip pan. You're going to turn this counterclockwise, and that's going to come out, and then we'll go from there. For some reason that was super tight on mine, but yeah, it's going to drain out the bottom of the support here, go into the drain pan, and then pull the radiator cap off the top to drain it. So I'm going to pull the radiator cap in order to, you got to push down as you turn, release some of the pressure. This is going to drain a lot faster now. You'll probably make a little bit of a mess, so I would be prepared for that. And then you can actually take this fan out without pulling the radiator cap, but you shouldn't pull the fan while the engine's hot anyways, so taking the radiator cap off won't matter. Of course, do this when the engine's cold, otherwise this will geyser out. Alright, while it's draining, we're going to do this screw here. That one there, they're just Phillips head screws. I have a flathead that's going to work as well, so just going to unscrew it here. So do one here and one on the other, and then we'll go from there. Alright, next thing we're going to do is disconnect the fan on the back. So there's a push tab here. I'm going to push on it, and if you can't seem to get it, what you can do is you can get your screwdriver and insert the flathead above the tab in there, and then you can just pull it off. There you go, that comes off easily. We're going to push that away, and then we're going to go ahead with disconnecting the fan. Alright, so down beside the radiator, it's this fan is hooked onto the actual radiator on these little tabs. So you're going to push that tab out, and there's one on each side. You just push them out and then pull up on this slightly, and you'll be able to pull the fan out. Alright, so the fan is disconnected. I'm just going to show you how to pull it out without taking this top hose off, in case you only want to replace this, not the radiator. It is possible. So you can pull up on this to get it high, and then you're going to push the tab on this side. It's right there. You're going to push that around, and it's just going to slide over. And then this will just come out. That's it. Alright, next thing we're going to do is the two transmission cooler lines. There's one here, and there's one right here. This one's pretty difficult to get off. You're going to have to come from above with the pliers like that. This bottom one's pretty easy. Just going to grab it. We're just going to kind of walk it backwards. Now I remember this one was blown out, so I'm actually going to walk it towards me. It just didn't seem to want to go past there. And then if this hasn't come off yours before, you're going to grab it and twist it, and it'll loosen there, and that can pull off. And then this top one will get a different angle. Alright, so the pliers on it, it's very hard to see, but it's down at the bottom, and I'm grabbing it from up top. And I'm just going to squeeze it, and I'm going to pull it toward me. And once you pull that up high enough, you'll be able to pull the bottom off. Both of these are going to leak transmission fluid just a little bit, but you will probably want to get some paper towels in there to block it from getting on everything. Alright, so you can see I pulled that hose off. It didn't really leak. This one leaked a lot. You can see I got a bunch of transmission fluid, nice and red. So I've put it back on for the time being. I'm going to re-cork the bottom down here, and then I'm going to bring the pan over here and drain the rest of that in there. It's not much transmission fluid, but it's more than a couple paper towels worth. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we're going to take these off per side. There's two 10 millimeters. The ratchet's on it right now. Take both of those off, and this is going to slide out. Alright, so those two bolts in there, and you just kind of lift up on it, just comes right out. Simple enough. And the one over there is off, so now this is easier to move. And then we're going to disconnect the hose down there, disconnect this hose up here, drain the rest of the coolant out of that hose. Alright, next thing we're going to take this hose off. So we're just going to clamp it. And we have our drain pan down there just in case. Most of this should have drained out, but you never know. Pull that off. Drain it down. Alright, well, nothing's coming out of there. And the next one, we're going to take that one off, and then I'll show you how to get the condenser off. Alright, so see this little metal slit in the plastic? That is the condenser, which is your AC condenser on the back here. And this is the radiator right here. So what you have to do is you have to slide the condenser out, up and out, so that it'll sit there. You don't have to disconnect any of the AC parts, but you can still pull the radiator. So the way to do that is we're going to lift the whole thing up. We're going to move it forward, because these pegs right here are on the bottom as well. These little pegs, they're in the bottom holding it on. So we're going to pull it out of those pegs there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull up on that, so pull it up and out, and then the radiator will come out. I forgot we're going to remove the coolant expansion tank hose, so you're going to push up here, and then that's just going to pop out. My other one's broken, but there's one on the other side as well. Then you're just going to pull this hose off, and then I'm going to set this over here. And then I've forgotten, but there are two bolts holding the condenser onto the radiator. There's one here and one on the other side. I'll show you those now. Alright, so there's the bolt. It's right there underneath where the transmission line came off, and there's one on the other side in the same spot. These are just 10 millimeters. Alright, so we have it here, and you don't want to damage your condenser, because this is under pressure, your AC line. We're going to lift it up. So after those bolts are out, I'm going to lift it up, see, and you can move it off of the radiator. So now it is disconnected. We're going to hold onto this line right here, and I'm just going to pull it out of the vehicle. So that's it. You're probably going to drip transmission fluid, but this is totally disconnected. I'm going to move my phone mount. Alright, so that's over there. You can see the damage of someone doing an alternator at some point. There's the fan. So you can see where it leaked coolant everywhere. Clean all of that up before. You can see I tucked this line here so it wouldn't drip anymore. That line's somewhat pushed up so it doesn't drip. There's nothing else over here. That's all disconnected. So basically you're done now. And if you wanted to finish it here, basically putting the radiator back in is the same as pulling it out. But I'll film that just in case anyone wants to watch it. So thanks for watching. Alright, I got the new radiator. I'm going to attach this hose because it's a lot easier to get it on and then slide it in than it is to get it on once it's in there. So I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put it in, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I've left the pegs on, all of the caps on either one except the bottom one. This helps having this hose on the bottom because then it can kind of rest on the subframe while you put the condenser back in. So same as we did at the end of the last time, we're going to slide the condenser. You can't see, but it's a little peg down there. Slide the little peg into the sleeve so the condenser kind of sits on the back of the radiator. So that one's slotted in there. Then go to the other side and do the same over there. Alright, once it's slotted in the back, this is basically just putting everything back together. I'm going to do the screws right here that bolt the condenser on. Then make sure the pegs for the bottom of the radiator are in the holes at the bottom. I'm going to take this off here, put the hose back on. Alright, so we got those all hooked up, everything bolted in. The set in. I got both of the transmission cooler lines in. That top one is absolutely miserable. I think I spent about 20 minutes getting that on. I would recommend getting the clamp on the hose first before putting it on, or just I was about to just swap it out for one of those. So did manage to get it on. Would not recommend. Next we're going to put the rest of it back together. Alright, so everything's connected. Hose clamp slotted in the fan. Put these bolts on. This bolt, but remember to put this piece of plastic back on before you put that bolt on. Hose, these are on 210s in there. Got the cooler, everything. The fan hooked back up. Alright, so I topped up the coolant expansion tank, and then I top this up as well. The actual radiator, I squeeze the hoses. You squeeze the hoses, and it gurgles a bit. It's pretty close to the top. And then I'm going to start the car so it can suck more in. And then as it sucks more in, I'm going to pour more in. And then once the car gets up to operating temperature, I'm going to put the radiator cap back on. And then going to let it run its full cycle, hopefully get all the air out. All right, so it's running and it's sucked in the bottom of the coolant there. So I'm going to add more coolant so it can keep sucking more in. I also got a new radiator cap because I don't know if the reason my radiator broke is because this one no longer had the right pressure. If this doesn't release the pressure, it can build up pressure and blow the radiator, so maybe that happened. But this is the original cap, so I'm just going to replace it. These are only like $8, so might as well. And that's the end of the video. Thanks, everyone. All right, just showing that a few bubbles are still coming out, just so you can see what it's supposed to look like, and then this level will rise, and once it starts to bubble over, you can put the cap back on, or once the liquid starts to come out, not bubbles. And you can see I'm almost at operating temperature. That's pretty much all my car does. It sits right there anyways. It doesn't really ever hit that middle line, so we're done. All right, this is the bottom of the transmission cooler on the radiator. Friendly reminder to make sure those are tight. Mine started leaking onto the floor and I noticed it was a 19mm. I just tightened it up. So yeah, just a friendly reminder, check that out too, so you don't have leaking transmission fluid.